Hey guys, and welcome to our review for The Lighthouse, directed by Robert Eggers, starring Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. My name is Scott Ellis. I'm joined here by Tim McGavick,
Oh, the Lighthouse.
Phil Clark,
The Lighthouse.
and Adam Franey.
Robbie Eggs is back.
He's back.
Let's get fucking
Robbie Eggy.
lit.
Tim, can you give us a little synopsis of The Lighthouse?
Ooh, it's good to do this. Yes. The relationship of two lighthouse keepers descends into paranoia and distress as the two men become more and more unhinged.
Pretty accurate.
Two wikis.
Two wikis, as you might say.
Sorry.
Films from A24.
Pretty much the GOAT production company right now.
Yeah.
Love A24.
Best studio on earth, yeah.
I mean,
No hard
Phil, let's start with you.
Oh,
great.
shit.
What are your general thoughts? General thoughts about The Lighthouse?
I went to see this with my girlfriend in Toronto 2 eves ago, and we were sitting next to one another, and she gave me the look like she was hating this movie. And normally she gives me that look, and I give her that look, and we commiserate and joke about these types of movies. But she was in her own lighthouse this week.
Oh.
I did not.
Thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I was loving,
I knew it.
just
I knew you
loving
would.
how absolutely fucked this movie is. Because I don't know, I've been trying to think of how to talk about it, but I can't. It's just so bizarre, but I loved it. I loved how dark it was. I loved the lighting. The camera work is great. I don't know. It looked beautiful. I was like entrapped in that. I don't know what that ratio was. If that was like
119
119.
Pretty much square.
fantastic.
Very old timey.
Very old timey.
Very silent film-esque.
I have a few things like small little like things I didn't like about it, but the story is bizarre. Like Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe are the only actors you listed. They're really the only actors in this. There's a few others, but not a lot. They're the pillars, and their chemistry is like insane. Like
Insane.
insane. Off
Interesting
of one another.
choice of words.
Interesting.
Spoiler
So,
alert.
Adam, let's jump over to you.
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Phil thoroughly enjoyed. Adam, what are your
Thoroughly enjoyed
thoughts?
Well, your time is done.
Yeah, it's over.
Just kidding. I fucking loved it. Not gonna bury the lead. I fucking loved it. I was so hype for this movie. Me and Scott waited. Were you there at TIFF when we waited for this movie?
No.
Your general
No,
presence is
no.
forgettable.
It was Emily.
Okay.
It was just
Yes, that's right. It's my
That's the name.
girlfriend. I mix you two
you
up
get
all the time.
confused
Yeah.
pretty easily.
We waited 6 hours, didn't get in.
Ooh, gotta
But
say.
guess what? I got in last night, and oh my god, what I got out was a fucking brilliant movie. I thought Robert Pattinson was amazing. Couldn't believe how good, and he unravels like throughout the movie. Like at first he's just sort of stoic, quiet, reserved guy, and by the end of it he's just giving.
Snapping.
Just snapping, just going postal. Willem Dafoe was perfect, like literally perfect, as a
Perfectly cast.
Angered sea
The
dog.
senior wiki.
yes, all of the above. A peg-legged, grizzled, old lighthouse
wiki.
tender wiki.
His name's Wake.
I love that.
It's like
Yeah,
too perfect.
looked.
With his accent.
I mean, like, it literally looks like they discovered a movie from the 30s and restored it. Actually, it doesn't look like they restored it. It looks like they just discovered it and played it on whatever. The aesthetic is beautiful. The score is like haunting. Those, I don't even know what to call it. Like
The
those
foghorns.
Foghorn.
Yeah,
Literally, the
foghorns.
first thing you hear in the movie is pretty much that.
Yeah, and I was thinking, like, is that the score or is that also in the movie? Like,
think
are
it's
they
both.
hearing that? Is it
There's
both?
a foghorn, but
Yeah.
the foghorn kind of also subtly
It's very
enters
eerie.
the score too, and it
Mhm.
kind of, I don't know, becomes part of the score.
And I was reading a lot about how Robert Eggers is so oriented on detail, and I noticed like every prop is just, if you're looking for it, it's just some, like even the knives and the forks are a little bit different, like all time era accurate. Willem's pipe, which when he's introduced is upside down. Was that upside down? Or is it
Yeah.
supposed to
Yeah,
be-
but he wasn't smoking. He's probably just keeping it so like the
Like,
range
just
gets
how-
or something.
yeah.
I saw that Willem had to like learn how to like talk and speak like with the pipe. Like, keeping the pipe lit was like a thing. Like keeping it lit while he was talking. Like it was something that Willem had to learn.
Holy
It took time to
fuck.
rehearse that.
Yeah, I don't know. It just kind of blew me away. Like, the story is what it is. I don't know. There's not really like a ton of story to unfold, which is
More
not.
experience.
I'm not complaining at all. It's
That's
like that's totally fine. I love some of the trippier stuff when, you know, Pattinson, like that one scene where he goes out into the water,
Mm.
and
He was like having a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the mermaid
Yeah.
stuff. I
Yeah.
don't know. Is that a spoiler?
The logs there.
The logs, yeah, just the way the water's like looks jet black, obviously because of the black and white and everything, the light reflecting off it. I was like,
Mhm.
we'll get into spoilers later in terms of visual stuff, but yeah,
So,
couldn't believe it. So original, so different. Loved it.
Tim, let's jump over to you. What are your overall thoughts about the Lighthouse?
I think my feelings are gonna be a little bit different than yours. Because I look back on my top list for the last couple of years, and The Lighthouse is the best film I've seen in years.
Bang, bam, boom.
Literally years. It's a masterpiece.
I'm
This is cracked like my top 10 of all time. Like, I fucking loved it.
gonna make the sound Robert Pattinson makes when he climaxes.
It's amazing. It is probably one of the most moody and atmospheric films I've seen. The first shot immediately just like draws you in, and I was like not let go the entire film.
Well said.
Performances are
Like a
outstanding.
fog.
Yeah,
Mm.
the performances
Staring
are
at the boat.
outstanding.
Starting at the boats.
There's so many like I've been going deep on this movie, guys, for the last 3 days.
Deep dive.
So many metaphors and allegories, and oh my god, it's insane. It's so good. I don't know, it's just amazing. The production design is phenomenal. They built that
Yeah.
lighthouse
That's what I
that
was
wasn't
trying
there,
to
which
say.
is insane. So this should be nominated right there because they built a lighthouse that looks
Absurd.
like it's been around for
Production
hundreds of
design.
years.
Absurd. Did they
Uh,
actually like go inside? Like, was there just a exterior?
As far as I know, they built
I
the
think they did the exteriors.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
the
but
interior might be like a set.
They did
but-
the interiors in Nova Scotia, like on a soundstage.
Okay,
Like,
yeah.
And like, for example, like the top of the lighthouse and all that stuff was in the soundstage.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then all the exterior, all the times they were in the exterior, that was on. It was like Cape Fortune or whatever
Yeah.
in Nova Scotia, and they built that lighthouse on like a rock.
What it looks
Yes.
like, right?
Yeah.
It is what it appears to
Yeah.
be.
It was,
Crazy.
it was actually storming during those times. So like
Mhm.
Robert said, some of the crazier shots of like the sea is like not edited. Like he put in like the lightning, because I think that the lightning was probably fake. But he's like those massive like waves and shit is like just what happens in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like they picked that one spot on that tip of Nova Scotia where like the weather's like the worst.
yeah,
To like get
Perfect.
that atmosphere right.
yeah. The movie's phenomenal, phenomenal. Can't say anything bad about this thing. It's so good.
If you've ever had a shitty job with a boss you don't like, you can relate to
Yeah.
this movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been Robert Pattinson. If you know what I mean.
And you're right. Their chemistry together is incredible. You said it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You said it.
they
Their
were
chemistry is
electric.
phenomenal.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Kind of got to agree with Tim on this one.
Ooh,
I
we
fucking love
hated
this
it.
movie. It is a masterpiece in my opinion. Like I can't think of anything bad.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of is there was one shot of like a tentacle that looked so.
Yeah.
But that's literally the only
Oh.
thing I can think of, and I'm like,
This
if
is not
that's
good, then.
if that's it, then
That 1
fuck.
second shot is
I mean, the rest of it, like you guys said, I mean, the visuals were amazing. There's just something about that atmosphere that Robert Eggers created, and you know, same thing with The Witch, right? I mean, it just sort of has that eerie sense of this sort of forgotten
yeah.
time and forgotten place, and
It wouldn't work in color for sure. If the
Mhm.
movie was in
No.
color, it wouldn't work. It's
It
such a
fits so
good
perfectly,
choice
yeah.
for the aesthetics. It's insane.
Brilliant.
it just
Yeah.
brings you into that time period and that sort of eerie place. And yeah, their performances were amazing. I could see them both getting nominated, but it's always a crapshoot at this time of year.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a bit early, but I think Pattinson was amazing in this. Willem Dafoe was the perfect foil. for him. Their sort of accents and everything were so perfect. And I loved Willem's like long sort of like curses.
Oh.
I thought it was just so perfect. Just the vernacular and everything that he was using was just so memeable to me. And it was funny. I was reading that Eggers, and I think it was his brother that co-wrote the screenplay. They were saying how they were putting so much of that sort of those old-timey words and sort of vocabulary in there that Willem was like, all right, like, can we like tone this down a little bit? Like, it was like too much. And I don't. Is this the tone down? No, they took some of it out.
The witch is like, you need like a thesaurus to like watch the witch.
Yeah.
So definitely, I got the dialogue in this way more than I did in the witch.
Yeah.
Wait till I get a hold of this at home on subtitle English subs.
That's the thing is, there was all this weird wordplay and stuff in this film, but I understood. I understood what they were saying. Like, I fully got it.
You could watch this silent.
Yes,
because the performances are so like.
You get it.
Animated and stuff that you'd be able to get what's going on for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Didn't even need dialogue.
Yeah.
But it was.
I love when this movie got weird. I just love some of that ambiguity and some of those like, is this a dream? Is this not? Like how long have we been here? Like it's only been a day. It's been 2 weeks.
It's been 5 weeks.
Yeah. It's
2 days.
Help me recollect.
Yeah, that kind of thing where it's like, the character is trying to sort of reconcile the time that's passed and all this stuff. I love that kind of ambiguity. Like, okay, what's real, what's not. I just love that. And I don't have a whole lot else to say. There's a couple funny moments.
There's some funny stuff in this.
Like, it was surprisingly funny. Like, I chuckled a few times. There's one scene especially that made me crack up, which was when Robert Pattinson was going to throw the chamber pots out.
Oh my!
And got fully Lebowski'd with this shit. And
full Lebowski.
Which is funny. I also read about that, how someone was asking him about Eggers about the influences, and he mentioned Lebowski, and how that scene just kind of came naturally. Like he wrote the scene, and then he realized as he wrote it, he's like, oh, like that's like that's like from. Lebowski. So it's just kind of funny how
subconsciously,
he was influenced by that. But I just thought it's such a funny moment.
I never thought of
it. Played differently than the Lebowski thing, but it's still like a funny. Throws the chamber pot, just shit everywhere. There's a lot of funny moments.
Good scream in that moment.
Yeah.
There's some good screams there.
A lot of good screams.
Goat screams.
And just the way this film ramps up right at the end, I just love that all that happening. And we'll get to that, but I just love how it ended as well. I would love to see. We saw it in like a half full theater.
Ours was pretty half full.
No walkouts.
No walkouts. Surprisingly,
I know.
because everyone was old there.
But I'm fully expecting the plebs to walk out.
I had a couple walk out.
Walk in.
Like one older couple walked out
towards
the end of the film, which I was like, you've already made it to this point. Like, what is this the line this out?
Right. Yeah.
And one thing you mentioned near the end of the movie, like just the timing, like it felt perfectly paced. Like I don't know how long this movie is.
Hour 50.
Okay.
Could have been 3. Could have been 1. I don't know.
It's like I felt like I couldn't to recollect because I don't know how much time passed.
I was on that Lighthouse.
But it was fully engaging. Like the pacing was so perfectly done. So I just love this film. I was super hyped going in, and I felt it met my expectations.
Hugely met mine.
Let's give our ratings then, and we can get into some spoiler talk. I'm going to start off. It's a 5.
Ooh!
It's a 3.
3 5s?
3 5s together.
And 1?
It's a 15 out of 5. It's a 5. It's a 5, Ben.
I'm going to go heavy 4.
Oh, you hated it.
Yeah.
Boring. Just going to say 5. Just same old result as the 3 out of the 4 of us.
Well, fair warning, if you haven't seen The Lighthouse, we're going to talk some spoilers, so you've been warned. If you haven't seen it, check it out, and then get back to us.
Please.
Where do we even start?
Where do you start?
On my drive here,
Oh, shit.
a little bit foreboding, dead seagull on the highway.
No way.
Never seen a dead bird on the highway ever.
Me neither.
I drive by, feathers are just still flying up. I'm like,
This is a bad omen.
this is a bad omen for me. This is real bad. So
Okay, go ahead.
there's a lot of allegory and the seagull thing is like Willem Dafoe says that seagulls have the
Seabird.
souls of the seabirds have the souls
sailors.
of people who've died at sea, and that scene where Pattinson finally catches one and just like obliterates it on the cistern is
I laughed.
insane. Lady next to me said Jesus Christ like out loud. I'm like, yeah, it's
It's
just
very Hulk low-key.
yeah.
Did he
It's
mention
very
that?
cathartic, though.
Did he subconsciously have Avengers in his
I
mind
don't know.
while writing the seagull bashing?
It
So,
was,
yeah,
it's interesting how Eggers, he had Black Phillip in The Witch, and now we got the one-eyed seagull in the Lighthouse. It's funny how he uses his sort of animal characters as sort of these weird kind of
Yeah.
He's an animal
Ominous.
lover.
ominous sort of.
It's
He should have done Dr. Dolittle.
yeah, so just the allegory in this movie is insane. Like, there's clearly Greek mythology being drawn on. If you guys know anything about,
Hit me, bud.
so Prometheus
Yeah, the Prometheus thing. Especially at the very
stole
last shot.
knowledge from Zeus to give to humans, fire, but it's essentially like he enlightened humans.
Mhm.
And then as his punishment, he gets tied to a rock and has an eagle eat his intestines for like all of eternity. So clearly that's
Repeats
Pattinson,
every
or
day.
because he's getting that last shot is insane.
The last shot is insane.
Pattinson's just
And it
like
seemed
one eye is
very-
gone. He's like just like
It seemed very Prometheus-like
Yeah.
that last shot.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
very sort of what's the word? It sort of recalled Prometheus very clearly to me.
And there's another
I
one,
never got
Proteus, which is like he's usually like an older, like sea-bearing character from the Greek mythology who like has knowledge but was like keeping it for himself, which is what Willem Dafoe was doing. So obviously these two guys are like at odds with each other.
It seems
But
very Yorgos Lanthimos
I
sort
was
of
just gonna
asked
say
to
that.
sort of
Yeah.
use that Greek
yeah,
mythology as I don't know. It's very the themes are very like
Yeah.
universal, so it's like a
Yeah.
interesting thing to grab on those like ancient ideas.
it's a very
For
very
like
cool.
yeah.
It just adds a layer. Like it doesn't necessarily mean like he's Prometheus and he's Proteus. It's not
Yeah.
like a one-to-one thing, but it's just a very
Just
One
the
more
ideas.
thing.
it's a layer of like you could read it as this,
That's funny.
or you could read it as just a straight they've gone crazy or more stuff.
It was also based on, from what I understood, like an actual incident that happened as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that.
Like in
the
Wales or something.
1860s or something.
These two guys that went insane at this lighthouse. But again, it was very. It's sort of like very loosely
Yeah.
inspired, like loosely inspired. By,
Like that's something that happened once.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like that could have happened 1,000
once.
times.
it happened once, I guess.
It's,
Uh,
but it's
Yeah, I
funny
mean-
about the seagull scene, like at the end,
Yeah.
eating him.
Yeah.
That was.
They got their revenge.
What was I gonna say? That was a sort of a nitpick. Like that was my only nitpick. I wanted it to end when Pattinson sort of like gets the lighthouse to himself. That scene blew my mind.
And have him like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
or
he's
like get in the
static,
light or
like,
something.
like
Because how eerie was
oh.
that when he finally gets to the top of the lighthouse, and the light
We talked
is
about
turning, and then stops,
and open.
and the door
Terrifying.
opens. I'm like, this is like fucking Annihilation right
Yeah.
here. This is
Yes.
It
like some
felt very
fucking-
Annihilation.
like this is some sort of H.P. Lovecraft shit going on. It's
and then
like
the
old ones.
distortion on the screen.
The
was
distorted
like, just
screen.
Yeah, the
very
screen.
David
down my
Lynch.
spine. It was like,
Yeah.
oh my
Very
fucking
Lynch.
Yeah,
god.
the sound design in this movie is crazy. And that in particular is like nuts.
Peak.
And the visual of like it's almost like the frame like goes distorted. Like the more he
Like
screams.
his face, it was like sort of the light was like melding with his face, and it was like
And how they put the sound of, like the horn on top of his like scream as he like, ah! And then like he's just lighting up to it. It was like, holy fuck! Like
he
what?
went Super Saiyan at the end there.
Yeah.
I just thought that was nuts. I thought it was done so well. I don't know. It was just executed to perfection.
It blew my mind.
I have a theory.
Oop.
The seagull that's eating his innards at the end, it's Willem Dafoe's soul.
Soul.
Because the bird shits on him,
Mm.
shit.
and he's been farting the whole time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
right.
Get shit on. Literally.
Shit.
I feel like there's a lot of reading.
You could pick it like anything and be like, this is this thing, and this is what this thing means. But
My only nitpick, and I said I had some at the beginning. My
Yeah.
my main one is that we talked about the dialogue and how like they had so much like old vernacular in it.
Mhm.
The only problem is Willem Dafoe's accent was so thick. Sometimes I didn't understand what he was saying, and I wanted to understand what he was saying
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I wanted to hear like because I thought it was like that scene where they're both in the like I guess they were both in their rooms and Willem Dafoe's just going at him. I was like, That was probably my favorite, like one of my favorite parts of the movie, where he's just like monologuing like Adam, like what a piece of shit he is, and then I was just like,
Anytime he
Yeah.
monologues at him.
It was
And I-
great. Even Robert Pattinson's sort of monologue when,
Yeah.
when he snaps.
Oh, the snap,
I
the
thought-
clap back.
I thought that was
God.
great as well.
Legendary.
Best
but there were
insults
moments
ever.
before and after that where I was like, what? Wait, what did he say? Like, 'cause
Yeah.
I did kind of want to hear that, and like that wasn't as clear as I thought. It
At the
could've been,
beginning,
but
I was like, "Oh no, here we go! Like here comes the witch complaint of like I can't understand anything." Like not saying that's what you're saying, but
no, it's
you're pleb, right?
Shit on me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not the actual like word usage. I think it just
I
some of the
couldn't
audio was like really quiet.
I couldn't, literally hear him
Yeah.
what he was saying, and therefore I couldn't understand it.
That's fair.
But it, like you said, sometimes you didn't
Subtitles
need
needed.
it, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it was
You
just
don't
like so
necessarily need it.
emotive that you didn't need to like see the words. I just wanted that because I do like the old vernacular, and
Yeah.
it was very like nothing in this movie feels out of place. Like literally nothing is like, oh, that's weird. That's not from. It's like everything just seems like it's from the before the turn of the last century,
yeah.
which is great.
Great
Like
time.
I was a little bit concerned that I wasn't gonna understand when they start getting into like Winslow's like backstory and how he's not Winslow, is Thomas and all this thing, and like I was worried I wasn't gonna get it, but I think I got it. I think I got the gist of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You know, but yeah, I don't know if we need to necessarily go into that.
can only go up.
But
From five
how
to a
about-
yeah, I mean the mermaid stuff too.
Mm.
That mermaid. My girlfriend hated that mermaid.
Really?
Yeah, she was just like roasting me about the mermaid for like the next hour. I was like, the mermaid was just. Like,
It was a part of it.
Briefly.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
When she's like cackling and like siren screaming. Terrifying.
It was sort of like a side. That was sort of like a side plot,
Yeah.
right? With like the sort of like carved like bone like mermaid thing that he was like enthralled by, and then
There was a lot of
the actual
enthralling stuff
mermaid.
in this
it
movie.
was-
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of angry
Um,
masturbation going on. It's very
Yeah,
weird.
there's a lot of furious masturbating, as Robert Eggers would say. Our pets, the goat.
I loved how the light, when we finally see the light, you know,
That set's gorgeous.
it
Yeah.
looks.
It is.
And I read that they had to. That was the first thing, like before they even like greenlit that they were gonna actually do the movie. His like production designer was like, if we're gonna do this, like I need the funding now, because someone has to like make that light like from
Yeah?
scratch.
It's insane looking.
And so they like got the funding for like the light first before they even like knew that they were fully gonna do the movie.
Wow.
So like they had to get some like, people that knew how to make these types of lights to sort of craft it first. But I just loved how it looked. It was a light, but it also looked kind of like squid like.
Yeah.
You know, it had that look.
Yeah, kind of like that
That
triangle
sort of
head look,
in
right?
the top. It was kind of like corrugated. It's
Yeah.
kind of, and then the giant eye, almost like a squid.
And then, like the front and the back almost lined up. It did kind of look like an eye, like down the
Yeah.
meat of the light.
And
it
then
was
how
very
that tied in
beautiful.
with like the tentacles thing, how he was like, and I don't even know what the light is, like what that means.
I
what's
think it's
going
just
on.
like his goal. Like he's just gone so mad that he has to become like what Willem was, right? Like
Yeah.
Right.
this is the fucking goal while I'm on this island. Like I need that,
Yeah.
That's why I
or
like.
I'm just gonna die.
That's why I like what it ended like with that scene of him just like getting his guts picked out. It's like he finally got his knowledge, and then like that's what it turned him into. This
Right.
like deformed being, half naked on the beach, just getting his guts eaten out, like with nobody around. 'Cause
It's kind of like, telling someone like, oh, you can't go, like, don't worry about that one room in the basement, like, just
Yeah.
never go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like, what's it in Harry Potter? It's like, don't go to like the whatever floor
yeah.
Yeah.
in like the first book. It's like, don't go there. It's off limits. It's like, well, obviously they're gonna want to go
They're
there.
going.
The
Right? You
forbidden
can't just
fruit.
say that, right? Yeah, it is the forbidden fruit, right?
Gave me like
Um,
Pattinson in this reminded me of Daniel Plainview. Like he had that like
Love
drive.
obsession. Yeah.
Yeah, and just like
Great mustache as well.
amazing stash.
Legendary
Legendary.
stash. Willem Dafoe had a great beard too.
And hair and teeth.
Yeah.
Just
Wow.
everything.
And pipe ability, like
Yeah.
literally,
Pipe
that,
skills.
Pipe it up.
yeah,
He was going nuts with that pipe.
just going ham.
Loved it. Well, I don't know if there's that much else. I think that'll
Yeah.
do it for our review of the Lighthouse.
See ya.
Check it out, please. Tim, where can people find you?
People can find me on Letterboxd at UpRealTim and on Instagram at the Craft Pundit.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You find me on Letterboxd at Wicked Swami.
You can find me on Letterboxd at UpRealAdam and Instagram at UprealAdam, and Twitter at Fernie25.
Find myself, Scott, on Letterboxd at Upreal Scott as well. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram at Upreal A Podcast. As well, if you enjoy this video, leave a like on it. Leave a comment below in the comment section if you want to join our discussion about the Lighthouse. And, of course, subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, keep it real.